a picture had come out of Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, who is in fantastic shape and doesn't have a bit of fat on the bone, is weighing just north of 230 pounds. And the question was, does a weight cut to somebody that massive, 230, heavyweight, going to cut all the way down past a weight class, which is light heavyweight, and go all the way down to 185, is that going to drain him? I was then confronted by Ryan. My producer Ryan said, well, Chael, I was just looking at Paulo's record. He said 13 fights, 13 victories, but he's only gone the distance once, and that was his last fight against Yoel Romero. And as you start to look at Paulo Costa versus Izzy Adesanya, you could not have any different body type than these two. Adesanya's gone 5 rounds a number of times. His opponent, Costa's gone 3 rounds one time. Where does this play in? Well, this is a very obvious one for me, but I will tell you it's a little bit hard to articulate. Listen, the great athletes are never going to have anything left. If you attempt to judge a guy like Paulo Costa and say, hey, look, I watched him go 15 minutes. He only did it one time, and he was absolutely exhausted against Yoel Romero. I'm going to come to you and say, listen, if Paulo Costa was in a 15-minute fight and he came out anything less than exhausted, then he didn't do his job. I mean, have to start with that. You could make the fight 5 minutes. You could make it 50 seconds. Those athletes had better have nothing left. I mean, this is part of the reality. And I see people make this same miss over and over, and it seems to be something that will just never go away. An athlete will always strategize and plan based on the parameters that they are given. Either way, they're going to feel like they were hit by a train at the end of the night. They're going to have nothing left. They're going to have a hard time standing up. They're going to be huffing and puffing. That is what you do. The great athletes aren't going to leave anything. They're going to leave everything. They're going to put everything into that match. They take nothing out of there with them. I only share that with you because how is Paulo going to do in 25 minutes is a question that keeps coming up. But if you look at his output against Romero, both of those guys deserve a lot of credit. That thing was an incredible contest. That was not only fight of the night, that's a fight of the year candidate without question. One of the great fights of all time without question. But one thing that all of the great fights, the fight of the night and the fight candidates of the year and all that, one thing they all have in common is a very high output. You have two guys really working very hard out there the entire time, and that's what you saw. How's he going to do in 25 minutes? Look, we can speculate. I am too. I think he's going to do just fine. How is he going to do is speculative until we see it. That's fair. But I'm just letting you know some of the pitfalls in your thinking. Now, let's go back to the question specifically. Is coming down from 230 to 185 going to be bad for his endurance? Well, that's all on the athlete. I don't think we've seen that yet. I don't think we've seen anything bad with his endurance. We've seen him have to push. He pushed just fine. He held up just fine. He held up longer than his opponent held up, which means he passes the test. Okay, fine. I will share with you, there is a byproduct to cutting weight. And as John Anik calls it, the necessary evil. That's very true, but I will just share, there is something about it, and each athlete has a weight class, and some guys do better bigger, but some guys need to be smaller because it's not a strength issue, it's not a height issue, it's not an opponent issue. There's a built-in mechanism and discipline to losing weight, and it's not just about cutting your calories while extending your output. There is extra runs that come in, and as a guy starts to get down to that specific weight class, he's having to do levels of run, which doesn't just get the weight off, it gets him into shape. And some guys on their discipline, if you put them in a different weight class, they don't go do that same work. They don't do it because they don't have to do it, and therefore those runs aren't there, which means the conditioning that comes from the run is now absent. I cannot share with you without a doubt that Paulo is one of those guys. I believe Paulo Costa is a light heavyweight fighting a middleweight. I think he's got a big problem with Adesanya that isn't going to go anywhere, and they're going to go figure this out no matter what weight they have to make, but I don't know that he's going to stick around the 185-pound weight class for the balance of his career. I think he's one of those guys that's going to enjoy life up a little bit, but that isn't the question I'm attempting to answer. The question that was asked to me is going from 230 down to 185 bad for your conditioning? I can only share with you stories of specific athletes who I have seen who needed that weight cut to then have the discipline and the byproducts that come along with getting that weight off, which meant they were going to be in great shape. Some of the guys I knew that were just in the best shape, that some of them cut the most amount. And it wasn't they had to cut the weight. That wasn't what that was just what needed to be done to make the work happen that then built that gas tank. Paulo appears to me to be that guy. I think the same in large part is said for Adesanya, but not for the same reasons. Adesanya does not have to cut a lot of weight to make 185 pounds, but he's one of the rare guys who will still go and do the work. He'll just have the energy to do it. He can have a quick snack, get something in his system, and then go out and burn it off. I mean, great. If you've got the mental toughness to do that, and Adesanya does, great. Some other guys have to have some of these built-in mechanisms. It's not a negative. It's a reality of knowing yourself and operating within the confines of what makes you the best.